Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the DLF Trade Show. I am a spiteful host this week, and someone was not truthful with us last week. And since I am talking like this, clearly it's not me, which means it could only be one other person, and that is senior contributor Addison Hayes, where someone, not going to name names, going forward, I'm not going to name names, did not let me know it was his birthday the day after we recorded. So I could not embarrass him and make a fool of him and of myself along the way and letting everyone know that it was his birthday. So I was just going to mention it last week if I can. Correct. Everybody? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Addison. If you cut this, I hate you.
I was going to say, that's the best part about being the editor for this video is that I could just cut that
and
right
if you
out.
do, I will make you have to edit every single video after this immensely by making a bigger ordeal every single time. So you better just let this slide. Because let's face it, my terrible singing voice will absolutely just overtake the fact that I was singing happy birthday to you.
Okay. That works.
So just let it go.
I'm on board.
Okay, good. TLF Trade Show. I mean, like, how do you move on from that? But we're going to move on and never look back. Never look back at that again. We are here this week, as per usual, to be a little reactionary. But this week, I want to be a little pre-actionary, if that's a word. If it's not, it is now. We are going to start off with reactionary news. And of course, that is Javonte Williams, who tore his ACL and PCL? LCL? Or is that... No, LDL is cholesterol. LCL is the tendon.
Yeah, and he tore something else as well, too. Something and a PL or something like that.
What was it? What was it like 2 years ago when Cortland Sutton hurt his knee and like the official response was he just tore it all up, or like he just destroyed his knee? And I'm like, that's the technical term. Okay. I think that's where we are with Javonte Williams.
He no longer has a knee.
Yes, they are going to have to just rebuild it from scratch. So the question then becomes, what happens to his value when a top 5 running back who is still just 22 years old is going to miss the rest of this season and maybe the beginning of next season? So let's look at some trades that went down. These are really a tale of 2 trades because one seems the right move and one is an absolute panic move. The first one is the 12-team 1 quarterback, where Javonte Williams was traded for the aforementioned J.K. Dobbins and a 23 third. Now, Javonte Williams is 741 in the analyzer in a 12-team 1 quarterback league. J.K. Dobbins is at 420, which I feel like is just going to go up for the next few months. You know, he's going to look better week to week. Yeah. He will be back. The more mocks we do, the higher he'll go. The more trades that actually get done through MFL, the more the algorithm will see to boost him up. But right now, this is where we are, and a 23 third, which is just 48 points. I mean, we're looking at 741 to 468. And while that completely shows Javonte's favor, I think this is a trade I would want more than a third, but I don't know if that holds me back if I'm a competing team from going and get J.K. Dobbins. Because the reason I like this is J.K. Dobbins is only a year older. You know, you're not moving to Austin Eckler or some guy who's 26 to 30 something years old. You're not really losing much in terms of age. So that's why I feel like this works better than the analyzer shows, but it still doesn't feel great. This is a lot of me being accepting of what will happen, and trading for what will happen is not the right thing to do. It's a little risky, but you might have to in your specific league. So I don't hate this, but I don't love it.
I love it. I think we are over inflating what this injury is going to do for Javonte. I think we don't see Javonte. I'm sure he'll play next year, but I don't think we see Javonte until 2024. That is 2 years before he looks like anything like he just did before the injury.
And then he'll be old.
And then like you said, yeah, he'll be 24 years old then, and coming off of a major knee injury,
Grandpa.
and then he'll be old. I dropped a video. We're recording this on Wednesday, so it's this morning. I dropped a video talking about Javonte Williams specifically and what I would do. My recommendation was any first in 23 or 24. He's gone. And I think that you can extend that to running backs, that if you're still competing, you're missing Javonte. I think J.K. Dobbins is also a great move. I mean, he's a year ahead.
He's
of where
Javonte. Yeah,
is.
exactly. Yeah.
I think Dobbins is a fantastic example because, I mean, like, this is basically kind of the same injury that he had last year. And we see that was in August, and he is just now coming back and being, able to actually play like a full entire game. And he didn't even look good last week. The only reason that he looked good for fantasy this week is he scored 2 touchdowns, but he had like 60 yards total.
Caught some passes too, though. That was nice.
Yeah.
Not the point. Sorry. Okay.
But
I just got excited.
Yeah. But that, like, if you basically copy that timeline and put it on Javonte, that means he's not coming back until maybe late October, early November next year. Right. Like, I think it's a foregone conclusion that he starts the year on the pup. And then we go from there, and we kind of wait and see what happens, how Javonte's, proceeding along with his rehab. And that, if that's the case, then we're not getting him for an entire half season next year. Are we even going to want him for the second half of the season? Because he's going to be a running back coming back from injury, first game's coming back. He probably will still be in a committee because they're not going to want to thrust him into the full-time role. I mean, they were already not even giving him a full-time role.
I think the idea of Javonte Williams, the workhorse back, is gone.
Is dead. It's dead. And then so now we're talking about 2024, and then that's so far away. That's 2 years down the road, right? Like, Saquon Barkley had a similar situation where he tore his ACL. He came back the following year, was hampered by more injuries that honestly probably could have stemmed from the ACL injury, because he was overcompensating on his other leg and doing all that other kind of stuff.
And then I will never get over him just stepping on a dude's foot and blowing up his ankle.
But now he's Saquon Barkley again. But that was this is 2 years now after his first ACL incident. Cam Akers doesn't look the same. Cam Akers is not Cam Akers. He can't break away from a committee. It's just, I don't want Javonte Williams on my team. If I can get out for him for anything somewhat significant, and if you're still competing, get a running back like J.K. Dobbins, like a Joe Mixon or a Nick Chubb, or somebody like that if somebody else sees that they're able to get younger Javonte and they're rebuilding and that just works, I'm all for that. So I love this deal. And I would definitely go and trade Javonte for J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah. See, it's really funny because I never valued Javonte as highly as I think a lot of other people did, because I really felt like he was defaulting into a high running back slot. There was a lot of old and injured guys. I mean, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, preseason, we didn't know what they were going to be. So they were all driven down in value. I mean, Austin Eckler, no one wants to list him high because he's old, but don't matter. So Javonte really just, Dalvin Cook. I mean, I can keep going, Mixon, all these people that are just aging out of being able to be in that top 5, and that just put Javonte in there by default. And not that I don't like Javonte Williams, the player, even really Javonte Williams, the situation, but that always felt so high. And it's really funny now that after his injury, I'm trying to keep his value like sort of close to that, and you're just like, nope, bottom out, get out.
Dropping.
Yep.
I mean, like, yeah, I would take him over like Elijah Mitchell and AJ Dillon and David Montgomery and like all those kind of running backs.
So before you hit those generic RB2s, that
right.
Meh.
Right. But when it starts getting into, hey, I'm rebuilding and I should go out and buy Javonte Williams for my first, or I should send Christian McCaffrey for Javonte, that's 2 years, man.
So if you are starting a rebuild, so you're rebuilding, you have a lot of firsts on your team, would you send a later first for Javonte right now just to hold him? So you're just done.
Nope.
If he comes back and he's Javonte, you're willing to pay the wait and see tax.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to make the argument of, well, he's going to gain value once he starts coming back, I don't really think he's going to gain all that much value than where he's already at right now.
We have to see how far he falls, because this next trade is a fall.
Yeah. This one's bad. This is what I would want to do if I was trying to buy Javonte. If somebody's panicking.
In a 12-team Superflex, Javonte Williams for a 23 second and Gerald Everett. Now, don't get me wrong. It is very cool that Gerald Everett is scoring some fantasy points. I love that we got out of that awkward situation on the Rams where one day it was Everett, the next day it was Higbee. We split them up. They're both doing pretty well. I'm glad. I love it. But I don't know how you do that. That's panic. That's, oh no, I need to compete, so I need to do if this is something you need to do to compete, you're not really competing as well as you thought you were. Like you can't, like this isn't something you do for competing's sake. I don't know what you don't do this. I think that's what it comes down to. Javonte 6'19", a 23-second 134, and Gerald Everett is 39. So I mean, we're talking less than a third of the value.
Well, if you drop Javonte down, it's still probably about a little less than half. Yeah.
It's not great.
No.
Everything we said before stands. Getting out of Javonte might, I say might, he's saying it absolutely is the right move. But if this is the best you're getting, then maybe you wait a little bit.
Hold on.
Wait till after his surgery. Wait until he makes the TikTok video with the thumbs up and oh god, when the ladder video comes, the ladder drill video comes out, gold, man, that's gold. Running up a hill,
or when he's on like the
the
treadmill, when he's like Javonte just clocked in at 20 miles an hour on the treadmill.
Or like I think I saw once some dude was running on the treadmill backwards, and I'm like, that has to be more of a value boost, right? Because that's.
Or when they have the thing around them that like lowers their gravity. On that, so it's like, more.
Or like maybe even like first like in the pool doing the running. The pool treadmill, like that's like really low, but still maybe that boosts his value a little bit. Like
he's running a route with Russell Wilson.
We're joking about all of this, but these are all videos that have really come out. And any video of a player getting a little bit more healthy will boost value a little bit. And not to say Javonte himself will release any of these videos whatsoever, no less anytime soon, but like I understand the need or want, well, not really need, the want to just move on for everything that Addison said before. This you just hold.
Right. There's definitely a price point for me where it's not worth it.
And that's that.
It's a little higher than this, I think, but yeah, this ain't it.
All right, so now is when we're getting a little pre-actionary, and it is about to be week 5, and a certain hashtag Team Clemson big wide receiver has a 6-game suspension he's about to finish up. And now maybe we start thinking about going and getting DeAndre Hopkins back on our teams, because it's not as if he was hurt. He's been out there. I'm crossing my fingers, exercising and running and catching and whatever this is, and players doing drills, whatever they do. The Cardinals offense, because that's what team it is. I almost said the Carolina offense because it sounds like Cardinals, but it's not quite Cardinals. The Cardinals offense is good, and I love me some Hollywood Brown. Hopkins and Brown are good for each other. Volume might go down a bit, but you can't constantly double just one of them. If you're only throwing 2 people on Hopkins, Marquise is just going to destroy. If you throw 2 people on Marquise, I don't care that he's 30. I don't care that he was injured last year. I don't care that he hasn't played in however long. He's DeAndre Hopkins, and he will crush single coverage. Things are going to have to change on defenses for this offense, and I think it will be good offenses nice. Yes. Good offenses are better for the players in that offense. So just to put that out there, not worried whatsoever. All right, so the first trade we have is a 12-team Superflex where someone traded DeAndre Hopkins for a 23-second and Rachaad White. And I mean, this is probably along the lines of what you're going to see a lot. DeAndre Hopkins is in at 112.8, which will go up the second he starts playing. Caution, Team B is giving up the highest value asset and the most pieces in the deal, because a 23-second is 134.3 and Rachaad White 69.3, so a total of 203.6. I mean, I think that's going to happen a lot, and the truth is I don't care. I mean, what it comes down to is you're going to see a lot of Hopkins for a second and a prospect, and that's all Rachaad White is right now. So it's a bit of a dart throw and a second, because people are going to say, really, I'm going to give up a 23 seconds for a 30-year-old coming back from a couple of games being suspended? Give me some young guy just to make me feel a little better about it. And you should always just say, okay.
One of the biggest arguments against DeAndre Hopkins is that because he's 30 years old, people actually are trying to say that the downfall and the decline started last year, right? Because he only played 10 games. He didn't even see a whole lot of volume in those 10 games. He only had 64 targets in 10 games. But I was trying to go through and I was looking at like his actual game log. And if you take away the game he got hurt in when he barely played and the first game that he came back, he was still on pace for 130 targets in the other half of the season that he played. 8 games on pace for 130 targets, over 1,000 receiving yards, double-digit touchdowns. Like, that's still DeAndre Hopkins, I don't really think that we should be treating DeAndre Hopkins any differently than we kind of do like Michael Thomas right now, because Michael Thomas still had that same kind of upside that he had, just the fact that he just didn't play for 2 years. I think Hopkins should be a little bit above Thomas because we've actually seen him play. And like I said, you take out the game that he got hurt and first game that he came back from injury, he was still DeAndre Hopkins last year. Touchdowns definitely helped. It vaulted him up a little bit because the yardage wasn't necessarily there. Dude's still getting targets. He's still getting, 4, 5, 6, 7 receptions in a game. He's still that type of wide receiver that maybe he's not top 5 DeAndre Hopkins, but wide receiver 2 DeAndre Hopkins. That's
this price. That's
right. That's exactly what I think, like you said, is going on here, where, it's hard to sell Hopkins, I think, for just a second. But like you said, that second and give me this young piece that's really, really fun, I think is definitely a move that still makes sense for both sides. And it's actually one of the prevailing kind of, this is his going rate, because there was other trades in there that were like a second and Jamal Williams because they wanted that production now with DeAndre Swift out, or it was a second and like Alec Pierce, like that kind of those were a lot of the trades that I was seeing in there that makes it feel like that's kind of the baseline of where Hopkins is right now.
Yeah. This next one's a little interesting. Like, I wanted to agree everything on Hopkins, but in a 12-team Superflex league, DeAndre Hopkins for Jared Goff. I don't know how I pick Hopkins over Goff, especially with the way Goff is scoring right now.
You mean top 3 fantasy quarterback, Jared Goff?
Yeah, like, how weird would we all feel if Goff works his way into the starting job? Like, what if this is what happens? I lose words. I don't know I don't know. I can't, it's really funny. If we are, let's pretend this was like Davis Mills, someone that we feel a lot stronger is a 1-year person.
Daniel Jones
doesn't really have a ceiling. That I would feel a lot better with. If this was DeAndre Hopkins for Davis Mills, did I hear you say Daniel Jones? Because that's another.
What if it was like Geno?
Perfect.
Okay, because at least Geno's producing.
I traded Geno for a lot less 2 days ago.
Okay, all right.
I have a team. I'm in a disgusting rebuild. Like, I have one player. I had 2 players scoring me points, but then Tua happened. So literally the only player I have on my team who is capable of scoring points is T. Higgins, and I will not let that go. I don't care. I will take those points. I'm having T. Higgins on my team. And I had Geno Smith on that team. So I'm just like, I need just someone take this off my team. I don't care. And it was a 23 third, and I wish I could even remember who it was. It was like a tight end prospect or something. It's just like, okay, that's fine.
Jody Fortson?
Who?
He caught a touchdown. Did you
No,
see
he
that?
didn't. Stop making that up.
He caught a touchdown on Monday night. It was the funniest thing.
No, that didn't happen. That's some big Mandela effect that's going on. I don't know. But yeah, like, to me, this is super easily Goff, and it might be situational because the idea of Jared Goff works in this because of like what he was last year. But like this year, right now, Jared Goff, I would easily take Jared Goff.
Could you? I'm going to spin it the other way because this is the situation that I thought of and where I thought that I would want to trade Jared Goff away. Obviously, you're a contending team. Why else would be trying to acquire a 30-year-old DeAndre Hopkins? But Jared Goff is your QB 3 or 4. So like you have Josh Allen, and maybe you bought low-ish on Jalen Hurts, so maybe those are your two or something
Okay.
like that. Or Trevor Lawrence is starting to break out, you know.
I'm here for it.
And then, you know, you have Jared Goff. Maybe you drafted Kenny Pickett, so now he's getting ready to step in as well. Maybe you also had a Geno or somebody, or Jacoby Brissett or somebody like that. And Goff is kind of in that mix of he's your 3-4-ish.
Okay, so here's what I'll say to that. Just because he's worth less to your team does not mean he's worth less to everyone else's team.
That should be a t-shirt.
You don't know how many. Show the t-shirt you're wearing right now. Is it the DLF one?
Yeah, it's the one from the.
You have no idea how many things I threw when they were asking for sayings for DLF. How many of my things I threw at them, and they just did not want any of them. So
I like all these. They're good.
Write that down. No, I like them too, but you know, still doesn't mean it doesn't hurt my feelings. Yes, in that case, it makes me more willing to trade Jared Goff away. But if I'm trading away known points, I want known points coming back.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's more, I guess, again, it's very situational. It's very specific to these players. If it was like, again, if it was like Davis Mills or something, bleh, I would feel much more better, man. I would feel much better about doing this. And I don't hate the idea of giving up my QB3 or QB4 to get someone like DeAndre Hopkins. But right now, Goff is playing too well, regardless of where he fits in on your team.
Makes sense to me. That was the only way I could spin it and rationalize it. So, but
you're absolutely right. And I get confronted's the wrong word, but like I get a lot of DMs about, you know, I'm weak at running back. Should I give up this wide receiver for this running back? And it's a solid wide receiver too for like a maybe running back 3. And I'm like,
the value doesn't make sense. Why
would you do that? That value doesn't match. Well, I need a running back and I have depth at wide receiver. That guy doesn't, you know. He shouldn't get a good deal just because you're in a little bit of trouble too. There's absolutely someone somewhere you could make a deal work out that doesn't really hurt you that bad, or honestly help anyone else too much. Because when you're making a trade, you should really only worry about making your team better. Like, I don't care if I'm trading with the first place team and giving them Jared Goff, as long as my team is getting better than Jared Goff was on my team.
Mm-hmm.
I think I worded that poorly, but I think you get the idea. Like, I don't care who I'm trading them to. That's not part of the equation, because as long as your team is getting better, that is all that matters. I don't, like, in this situation, giving someone Jared Goff and getting back DeAndre Hopkins, I think it's hard to imagine my team getting better than it was before, to tie it all together.
Hey guys, real quick, I just want to let y'all know that this video is sponsored by No House Advantage, who's changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available. Playing pick'em contests for a shot at winning $250,000 or more in just straight up cash. You can download their app, choose a contest, select your player props, earn points for correct picks, and climb the leaderboard for your shot to win big money every single day. Bet on up to 5 player prop over-unders or individual player matchups across every major sports league, including the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, and NASCAR. You can sign up today with promo code DLF at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app to get an initial deposit match up to $25. Make sure to check out No House Advantage today and experience daily fantasy sports redefined, because it's not just how you play, but also where you play. You don't want to miss this, so check out the link in the description or go to nohouseadvantage.com, promo code DLF.
So we're going to move on now to another pre-actionary trade, and it's Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams has, the last thing I saw was a window. If he can return anywhere in the next 3 weeks and be activated by the Lions, in which case, if you are a Jameson Williams believer, who just, you know, I love getting to call someone JMO, that now is a really good time to go get him, because the closer someone gets to being on the field, the higher their value will get. Especially in this situation where it was like ETN, right? We never really saw him on the field, and we had that hype with him coming into the league where it's just like, all right, here we go. And Addison didn't help either. But Jameson Williams, who was crazy talented, it's just the timing of his injury was bad, but still got drafted really high. So like we're here, we're ready, let's go. And in a 12-team Superflex league, Jameson Williams for a 23 first. So here's the thing. I like the idea of Jameson Williams. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be good. With everything we were just saying about Jared Goff, well, he's playing pretty well. And regardless of how good Jameson Williams is, better than just good, like how great he is, teams still have to deal with Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and at least last game with TJ Hawkinson. Like he'll show up one game a season, I guess. So this offense is weirdly gotten pretty good really fast. So I'm ready here. I'm here. But if someone offers me a 23 first, I'm taking that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Especially in a super flex league, in a 12-team super flex league. I don't know if I feel safe saying any first. Like if you're telling me it's the 110, 111, 112, my curiosity might win that argument and say like, no, I'll just see what I got in JMO. But man, if you're telling me it's close to half mid, I'm taking the first, because when you think about that 22 draft class, Breece Hall is the only one I would consider on level with the 23 first. Like I love what Drake London looks like, but at the time of the rookie draft, I would have given the 102 and down for a 23 first. You know, right. It was just Breece Hall. And seeing as how nothing could have changed for Jameson Williams, that doesn't change for me now. So I would most likely take a 23 first over Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I'm 100% taking a 23 first over Jameson Williams. I think that's one of the easier moves to make. Williams for me was a prospect that I was always lower on than consensus, because the only reason he produced in college is because he transferred out of a school that had two other NFL wide receivers on it, and he couldn't make his mark on a school with actual NFL receivers on it. Transferred to a school where he was then just the guy. He was the only wide receiver on that team. John Mechie was there too, but John Mechie was not great. He's fine. And so I think one of my mantras when it comes to college wide receiver prospects is, if they couldn't produce in college on a team with NFL wide receivers, why would we expect them to produce in the NFL on a team with NFL wide receivers? Right? I get that Jameson Williams is uber talented. I get that the dude runs like a 4.25, and you know, all this stuff and blah blah blah. But like, I don't think he's a fit with Jared Goff. Goff does not throw a good deep ball. He fits much more in the short to intermediate. That's why Amon-Ra St. Brown's doing well. And I don't think Jameson Williams fits with Jared Goff. And I actually think that Jared Goff is on this team for the next 2 or 3 years. I've had that hot take that I think he's the last remaining NFC North quarterback on their current team right now. I think he survives with the Lions longer than Rodgers, Cousins, and Fields.
Oh my! I hit Fields last. Also, I'm like, no, I like Fields.
That's just I think Goff is going to stay there. And if Leaf not, I think it's, you know, for the rest of this year and probably next year for sure. With the way that they're at least putting up points, they're not winning, but they're scoring like 40.
They did not expect to win, so I think that's fine.
So I'm not counting on the Lions. You know, I've heard a lot of people say, well, they're just going to draft Bryce Young and they're just going to, you know, it's going to be a Burrow and Chase thing again with Young and Jameson Williams. I'm not putting stock into that. That's not why I would be buying Jameson Williams.
And that doesn't usually work, just to put it out there.
Burrow and Chase is like the one, like that doesn't normally happen.
And I mean, like, we're going down the line. Like, it took 18 years in the league, but Carr and Adams are playing together again. It took 4 years in the league, but Kyler and Marquise are playing together. But I mean, let's not forget Haskins and McLaurin. And I will always remember Andrew Luck and Kobe Fleener, because that made me so happy for some reason. And they drafted them in the same draft. Like, quarterback and wide receiver from the same college usually just means absolutely nothing.
I'm taking the 23 first over Jameson Williams, and it's pretty easy for me because there is a Jameson Williams in every single class. So.
Ouch. The next trade we have is a 10-team Superflex League, and I do like this because there's a lot of respect being thrown around, I think. DJ Moore and Jameson Williams for CeeDee Lamb. DJ Moore, 380. Jameson Williams, 151 for a total of 530. CeeDee Lamb, 598.4. So this is a third or change in favor of CeeDee Lamb still, but man, like, I want CeeDee Lamb here, and if I could use the name value that DJ Moore might still carry and the intrigue of Jameson Williams to move up to CeeDee Lamb, who I think we now saw it doesn't necessarily matter who's playing quarterback. He's just very good. Either that or Cooper Rush is just very good. One or the other. Or Dak's not that great, but I'm not here to have that conversation because I don't know the answer anyway. But see, it's funny. Like I was hoping you'd give me a trade where I could be like, yeah, this is what you do to go get Jameson Williams. But you gave me the opposite. This is exactly how I would use Jameson Williams if I had him on my team to go and add value to my team, because DJ Moore is not scoring you points. It's the unfortunate truth that Baker ain't it. And even if either Carolina drafts one of those, is so bad where they draft one of those young quarterbacks, or if they go and they acquire, even if it's like Garoppolo next year, like some quarterback we know that can get it to a player in space and let him do his thing, which honestly, now that I say that out loud, Garoppolo and DJ Moore are a perfect combination. Moore's value has a cap at this point because I think we've all been hurt too much. He's going to be 26 next year, which is still young because he's been in the league for 30 years already somehow. But I think his value has a cap. Jameson Williams, like everything that Addison and I said before, is the exact same. But CeeDee Lamb is really good. I was never worried about CeeDee Lamb through the weird ending of Dallas last year, through Dak's injury this year and beyond. I think CeeDee's awesome. So if I could use those two players or players like them to go upgrade, especially in a 10-team league, that's an all-day move.
I was trying to find, because maybe it was my inherent bias against Jameson Williams that I wanted to show trades of what to do to like sell him. But I do, like, I was looking through the trade finder trying to find these trades, and I just realized that Jameson Williams carries way more value than I thought he actually did. Because, so like, I was going through 3 trades all in a row that were done this week.
Okay.
Jameson Williams for 223 firsts. Jameson Williams for a 23 first.
Okay.
Jameson Williams and Trey Sermon for a 23 first and second, Jonnu Smith and Eno Benjamin.
Wow.
And then you also have Jameson Williams and Drake London for Josh Jacobs, a 23 and 24 first. So there's that.
That's the one that was a trade addicts league. That wasn't me, but that was in a trade addicts league.
You have in a super flex league, Jameson Williams and a first for Cooper Kupp and Geno Smith.
I would love to do that for Cooper Kupp and Geno Smith right now.
And then you have Jameson Williams and a first for Mark Andrews.
I mean, yeah, Jameson Williams is carrying the value of a strong first.
It's really insane to me how much value he has for having he hasn't played yet.
If this is the case, then I change my answer. Well, I do like the player and the idea of Jameson Williams. His value might just be way too high already. So maybe this is the way to go. So yeah. All right. So we're gonna flip things around a bit because Addison didn't ask me about any offers I had in my inbox, and I forgot to tell him that I didn't have any anyway. But we have an in Addison's inbox. So since it's yours, tell the story, my friend.
All right. So this is in a 10-team Superflex league. This is actually my home Dynasty league. So you can take with that what you will. But a lot of the people in there are very competitive. And I'm also a taboo player to trade with because
you're so smart. You know things they don't know.
Because yeah. So people hit me with hey, I hit them with would you be interested in trading away X player? And they're like, well, now that you're asking me for it, no. They're like,
why?
No,
why? What do you know?
I want to keep this player, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But anyway, so that's a fun part of it, and it's all my friends, so it's all good. But in this league, I am 1-3. I have Deshaun Watson on the team, so obviously that's not helping out at all. And then just haven't really found players to hit between, like, my wide receivers were like Godwin and Hollywood and Gabe Davis, and I had Travis Etienne, and it's just like
bad.
It's young, but it's bad now.
Good save. Okay.
Yep. I had Javonte Williams, so that one hurt. So in the same league, I was able to trade Javonte for a 24 first. So I did make that move.
Like you said, 21st.
But this was a deal that I had where I was able to trade away Joe Mixon for DJ Moore in a second, where the team that is receiving Joe Mixon is 2-2, but they're a high point scoring 2-2. And really their one hole is running back. Like their RB1 was AJ Dillon, and their RB2 is, I don't even know who the heck their RB2 is. But that was their one hole, and they have really good wide receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks and stuff. So I felt really good about making this move because, like I said, I'm rebuilding. Don't need a running back like Joe Mixon on my team if I'm kind of rebuilding or at least retooling for maybe next year or whatnot. And I thought DJ Moore would be the perfect player to go after, a player that situationally sucks right now. But I feel like I know what DJ Moore is. I feel like DJ is a top 15 wide receiver.
We all know what DJ Moore is. The problem is I don't think Carolina cares.
Yeah. But it's gotten to the point where I'm actually rooting for them to switch to Sam Darnold. Because at least with Sam Darnold, DJ Moore saw like 150 targets last year, and that I can live with.
He's not even healthy yet, but okay.
But that's where I'm at. I'm hoping that they switch to Sam Darnold when Darnold comes back.
Did Corral get hurt? Is it Matt Corral season yet?
I don't care about that. But I mean, maybe he might be better than Baker. I don't know. Then the second, his team, like I said, like I'm hoping. I said he was a 2-2 team, and he's trying to contend. But I'm hoping that if he makes the playoffs, he's like first round boot. That's like 206, 207 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which in a 10-team league is like 204, 205.
Yeah, right. That's always the fun thing.
It helps a little bit more.
You say that out loud, and you're like, "Oh yeah, 10 teams. That's really two more picks earlier than I'm used to anyway."
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you, and not with the analyzer on this one. I think that the value is pretty fair. Joe Mixon never really. It's really funny. We're in a weird place with Joe Mixon at this moment right now because, like, coming into the season, he should have been valued so much higher than he was. Except apparently everyone was right because he has just looked straight up sluggish this year. That offensive line is still atrocious, and he's
Joe Mixon before last year. He's just doing the same thing he did for the other 5 years of his career.
Yeah, it's as if last year never even happened. And while all the things I said about DJ Moore, I completely 100% believe. But if you're rebuilding, you don't need a 26-year-old running back. You pivot to the 25-year-old wide receiver and you get a second out of it. Like, that's just the right move in general. And then adding the context of Addison likes DJ Moore, Addison believes in DJ Moore.
I believe he's going to get traded to Kansas City. Like, these are all things.
Addison wants Sam Darnold to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He said those words out loud. So yeah, like it's really funny. All of the negative things I said about DJ Moore weren't really negative to call him bad, to call him useless. He's just not a top 15 wide receiver. But he could be a pretty strong wide receiver too, and that's fine. I never thought Baker would be this bad. No, I really thought a change of scenery would help Baker, and it's not. And that makes me sad because I really liked him.
Yeah, he was fun.
Yeah.
This is where we are. And
this is where we end because Addison is just a killer of shows and a killer of moods and all of that stuff. But this has been another episode of the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and all of those things I'm supposed to tell you to do on a YouTube show. And more importantly, we'll see you next time.